There's something I've noticed over many years of working in this field. Some people seem naturally drawn to understanding human behaviour. They notice patterns. They notice shifts in tone, in posture, in energy. They can sense when something is being said and when something else is happening underneath the words. And often these are the people others gravitate towards. They become the person that friends talk to when something is difficult, the one that colleagues seek out when they're trying to make sense of a situation, the one who seems to instinctively notice what's going on beneath the surface. Sometimes these people assume this is simply curiosity or empathy, or perhaps they've just always been a good listener. But very often what they're experiencing is something deeper. They have a natural orientation toward understanding how people work, how patterns form, how behaviour emerges, how change actually happens. And at some point, many people who recognise this about themselves begin asking a different question. Not just, why do people behave the way they do? But how does change actually occur? Because noticing patterns is one thing, understanding them is another, and facilitating real change is something else entirely. This is the moment where curiosity often becomes something far deeper. It's the moment where personal development starts to evolve into a different level of interest. At the beginning, most people explore personal development because they want to change something in their own life. Perhaps they want more confidence, better relationships, less anxiety, greater clarity about their direction. And this is where most people begin. They read books, they listen to podcasts, they attend workshops, and sometimes these things are helpful. They provide insight, they create awareness, they introduce useful tools. But eventually, many people notice something interesting. Insight does not always create lasting change. You can understand a pattern. You can see exactly where it came from. You can recognize how it plays out in your life. And yet, the behavior can still return. Not because you lack discipline, not because you lack intelligence, but because behavior does not originate at the level most people try to change. Behavior emerges from deeper internal organization. It reflects how the nervous system has learned to respond to the world. And the nervous system does not reorganize simply because we intellectually understand something. It reorganizes when it recognizes that something new is possible and safe. That is why many people eventually become interested in modalities that work at deeper levels of change. They begin exploring approaches like NLP, hypnosis, coaching, behavioral change methodologies, not because they want another technique, but because they want to understand how transformation actually occurs. And this is often the moment when people realize that the ability to facilitate change is a skill. It's something that can be learned, developed, refined over time. But there's an important distinction here. Being interested in human behavior is not the same thing as being trained to facilitate change. Many people are curious about psychology. Many people read widely about mindset and behavior. But working with someone in a way that allows real change to occur requires a different level of understanding. It requires the ability to observe patterns in real time, to recognize when the nervous system is organized around protection, to know when to intervene and when to allow integration to occur. It requires presence, calibration, and the ability to communicate in ways that create safety for the nervous system to reorganize. And this is why practitioner training exists, not simply to provide techniques, but to develop the capacity required to guide change responsibly. Because when you're working with another human being, the stakes are different. You're no longer just exploring ideas. You're influencing someone's internal experience, their perception of themselves, their relationship with their past, their capacity to move forward. And that responsibility requires both skill and supervision. This is why when we train practitioners, we focus heavily on experiential learning, not just theory, not just concepts, but the ability to apply these methods in real time, to observe what is happening in the moment, and to understand how change actually unfolds. This is one of the reasons we created a 2-day experiential program called Step Into Your Power. It's designed to give people a direct experience of the types of processes that we use when working with deeper patterns. For many people, that experience becomes a turning point. They begin to realize that change is not about forcing behavior. It's about allowing the nervous system to reorganize. And once people understand that, their interest in this work often deepens. Some choose to apply this work in their own lives. Others begin exploring practitioner training more seriously, because learning how to facilitate change is a powerful capability. It allows you to help people move beyond patterns that have limited them for years, to help them release meanings that were formed in moments of protection, to help them reorganize their internal map of what is possible. And when that happens, behavior begins to change naturally, not because it's forced, but because the system itself has reorganized. This is the work that we teach inside the Mind and Soul Alignment Incubator. It's practitioner level training in modalities such as NLP, hypnosis, timeline therapy, coaching, and chrono shift work. But more importantly, it develops the deeper capability required to guide transformation responsibly. And for many people, the journey into that level of training begins with a moment of recognition. They recognize something about themselves, that natural curiosity about human behavior, that instinctive noticing of patterns, that sense that they want to understand how change really works. And when that recognition occurs, a new pathway often opens, one where curiosity becomes skill, and understanding becomes the ability to genuinely help others. Because understanding human behavior is fascinating, but learning how to facilitate transformation is something else entirely. And for the people who feel drawn to this work, that difference changes everything.